Hello, church. Here we are, Isaiah chapter 26 and 27 today. And if you are sometimes wondering which verses you can add to your memory bank, I would say these two we're going to look at in chapter 26 here got to be in there. They are foundational verses that help us to walk in peace toward the Lord. Let's jump in. Verse 3, you will keep, who are we talking about here, church? The Lord, all right? You will keep in perfect peace him whose mind is steadfast because he trusts in you. What I want us to see here, church, is that there is an aspect of responsibility that the Lord does, and there's an aspect that we are responsible for. What are we talking about here? If you look here, it says that you will keep in perfect peace. Whose responsibility is it to keep a person in a state of peace? That is the Lord's. Friends, you and I cannot self-generate peace. It just simply doesn't work. It is a gift from the Lord. But what is our responsibility in this equation? It says, you will keep in perfect peace that person whose mind is steadfast, meaning it is fixed, it stays on the Lord because he trusts in you. Church, our responsibility in this equation, if you will, of living in a state of peace is to keep our minds set, fixed, firmly established, steadfast on the Lord. And then he will keep us in perfect peace. It is something that he will do for us. And he is faithful to his promises. But then verse 12 takes it even further. And he says, Lord, you establish peace for us. What I love about this, if we look at the word establish, I love to call on my friend Webster in his 1828 dictionary. And this is what it says in the Webster 1828. Establish means to set or fix firmly or unalterably, to settle permanently. Friends, you and I are meant to walk in a state of permanent, unalterable peace. That is to say that God is going to establish, he is going to fix that in our lives, no matter the circumstance we find ourselves in. It is not meant to be something where we think to ourselves, that kind of peace is only possible in the good seasons in life, but in the bad seasons, I just got to tough it out. No, we know there's trouble coming, church. Jesus said in John 16:33, very familiar verse, in this life you will have trouble. But friends, when we keep our minds fixed on the Lord, he establishes, he fixes for us unalterable, permanent peace that the world cannot take away. And he keeps us in that place. And so what we've got to do, church, is just simply identify in our lives those things which steal peace. Because here's the reality. There is probably no time, as far as I can remember in history, where people seem to live with more anxiety, more depression, more fear, all these things where we seem uncertain in everything, people all around us. But what's the problem? People are not setting themselves, fixing themselves on the Lord. And so a question we can ask ourselves today is this: Lord, are there thought patterns I allow that steal peace in my life? Please heal me from those thought patterns and fix my eyes on you. Church, walk in that place and experience the peace that the world cannot take away. Chapter 27, what I want us to see here is a people that God is talking about here, his people. We are the vineyard. So this is talking about this vineyard here. And in verse 2, it says he's going to sing about this fruitful vineyard. And what I want us to see here is what God desires for this vineyard. He is involved in this vineyard. Look at this. In verse 3, it says that he watches over it, he waters it, he guards it so that no one may harm it. And what is their response? Indifference. They are lukewarm toward the Lord. Look at verse 4. He says to them, if only there were briars and thorns, meaning that if only there was some kind of opposition going on here. But it really feels like these people are actually unresponsive. They are indifferent to the Lord. They don't really care. And you can see that in verse 9, that there are still idols that abound in the land. Verse 5, they are not at peace with the Lord. And we ask ourselves, what kind of a state are these people in? Very similar to the church that we see in Revelation chapter 3, where they are actually just indifferent to the Lord. They are lukewarm, and God hates it when we are lukewarm. He says in Revelation 3:16 that he would actually rather us be hot or cold, but because we're lukewarm, he is going to vomit us out of his mouth. That word in the Greek means like vomit. It's not necessarily just a spitting out. It is like this repulsive act that God says, I'm going to spit you out of my mouth. But look later in that passage in Revelation 3, what is God's desire? That we open the door that he's standing there knocking on so that we can welcome him in and he can have fellowship with us. And what does that fellowship sound like? The peace that we've just finished talking about in Isaiah chapter 26. And so, church, what we need to ask ourselves in this chapter regarding lukewarmness is this: Lord, are there any thoughts in my life that keep lukewarmness alive and well? Help me to repent of those and turn wholeheartedly to you. Church, let's get rid of lukewarmness. Let's get rid of anxiety, depression, and fear by welcoming Jesus into our lives today in a fresh way and walking in the peace that he establishes for us. Blessings in your day today.